I mean, werewolves aren't real, right? They went to say that they believe that the beast is not a natural, normal animal, and that it's a very old creature that came here from the spirit world. Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, my name is Shayna, and in my little corner of the internet, we talk about spooky history of all kinds. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell because I'm here for you on Wednesdays. But if listening to these stories are more your thing, I also have a podcast that is called Spooky History with Shayna Blake, and that is where the audio of this video will be. I'll have the link in the description down below for you. Now today, I thought we would talk about something that I personally find very creepy, but super interesting. So today's episode, we will be talking about the Beast of Bray Road. Let me know if you guys have heard of it. I heard of it a long time ago, but as usual, I never really looked into it until I decided to make an episode on it, so I'm really excited about this video. Now, the first reported sighting of this beast was back in 1936 on a rural road outside Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Now, this town is the county seat for Walworth County, and it's a fast-growing community with a population of over 9,000. It's also a city in rich history and tradition with the warmth and friendliness of a small town. Now, we can thank Google for that very lovely description. Now, Bray Road is just outside Elkhorn and it runs just a little over 4 miles. Fun fact is that Bray Road at one time was an old Native American trail that led out to some of the lakes that would have been summer places for them to go to. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, this creature known as the Beast of Bray Road is described as a hairy humanoid that has canine features. Most of the reported sightings were in the 1980s and 1990s. It places the creature in Racine, Walworth, and Jefferson counties. I feel that many have seen this creature all over, but those counties are where it's mainly seen. And when people do spot him, it's usually while he's eating or hunting and scavenging. It is known to run in front of people's cars or even run alongside of them, which is really creepy to think about. You just be driving down the road and you see this massive werewolf looking thing running alongside you. I'd be terrified. Now, the beast is sometimes called a man-wolf or an indigenous dog man. It's said to have the head of a wolf or German shepherd. It stands and runs on its hind legs, has humanoid hands with claws, and is about 7 to 8 feet tall with fangs, red eyes, and pointy ears. Its body, though furry, looks like a muscular man, and it's been seen sitting on its haunches and kneeling like a man. So it really sounds like something out of a nightmare, to be honest. Now, some people do believe that it is a werewolf, but others think it's some type of Bigfoot. And to some, believe that it's just a regular animal that is an unidentified species. Now, it really has never attacked anyone. Some witnesses claim that it has acted aggressively by running at them and then jumping on their cars, but it hasn't really physically attacked a person that we know of. There are some researchers who considered the beast to be identical to the kind of Wisconsin Bigfoot that locals call the bluff monster or the Eddie. But I found these firsthand experiences that I wanted to read that I thought were really creepy. I'm sure you guys will too. Now, here's the first one I found. I lived in the town of Franklin, Wisconsin. This was about 1997 to 1998. We had just moved into a brand new subdivision and were currently the only house that was built. The rest of the area for a long distance were empty lots on what used to be the adjoining farm's old land. Our backyard had a running creek. Now, on the other side of the creek was some brush and a single lane road with an old wooden streetlight that gave off an orange hue about 30 yards or so away. It was a warm summer night and I was having a sleepover with one of my friends. We had all the lights off and were playing hide and seek in the dark. I went back into our sunroom and saw something crouched over, illuminated through the brush and orange streetlight. I'm not sure how to describe the body posture. You know how when you're about to throw up and you hunch over on your knees and palms? It was similar to that. Its breaths were so deep and heavy that you could see its chest heaving from that distance. Now, we have a 140-pound Akita who stood 6 feet on his hind legs, and I could easily tell that whatever this was dwarfed my Akita. I also know that it wasn't any type of dog or wolf. Its hind legs were thick and muscular like a man's, but its body tapered at the abdomen and head like a wolf or canine. I called out to my friend who came over and just said, "What is that?" Trying not to make much noise, we sat there as it was hunched for a good 30 minutes. My dad, who was a Vietnam vet, came out to see what we were doing up so late. We asked what it was and he said, "I don't know." He then went outside as we stayed in, scared for my dad. He had one of those old mega lights that had the power of 1,000 candles and took it with him. He stood in the driveway and shined it onto whatever we were watching. It looked back at us and I honestly don't remember the eye color. What I do remember is that when it took off into the brush, it took off upright like a sprinter from an all-fours stance. My dad heard it splash through the creek. It was one of those moments you don't really talk about because people will think you're crazy. When I heard about the Beast Man years later, I immediately knew I'd seen it too. End quote. And all I have to say is wow. That must have been a truly terrifying experience. Now, I did find one more. Then I want to talk about the documentary that's on Amazon Prime called The Beast of Bray Road that I found really interesting. Now, this one was seen in Texas, and it's really creepy. So here's the second experience I found. Quote, "This took place in Cleburne, Texas in October of 2016 at around 1 a.m. Me and my girlfriend were sitting outside on my dad's porch smoking a cigarette. It was dark, so it was pretty hard to see. I also want to make note that my dad lived on about 300 acres of vacant land, and he did for a fact have many wild animals that roamed at night, as well as cattle, so we were pretty used to seeing wild hogs, coyotes, raccoons, and even wild turkeys approach the house once the sun goes down. Now, this didn't seem like any of those things. There were no street lights, and the closest neighbor was about 2 football fields away. Now, we noticed something creeping through the grass about 30 feet away from the porch. The movement reminded us of a coyote, but this, whatever it was only about 1.5 feet tall and anywhere from 7 to 10 feet long. Its body was pressed almost as if it was stalking us as prey. Now, we were pretty freaked out when we noticed, so we grabbed our cigarettes and shoes, but that's when things got even freakier. This thing had been crawling towards a medium-sized tree, and as it passed behind the tree, it didn't appear on the other side. Could it have climbed the tree? Or perhaps stood upright behind the tree, hiding, watching? I did not stay around to find out. All I know is the footsteps stopped, so it wasn't running away out of view. My girlfriend suggested that we get a flashlight and try to scare it off, to which I responded, "Are you crazy? Get inside now." After searching Wikipedia, I thought it might have been the Beast of Bray Road or maybe a werewolf. End quote. Now that is very creepy. For something like that to have been stalking you and then to disappear behind a tree, you'd think something that's that high from the ground and that long would be something like an alligator or a crocodile. But there's no way it would have just disappeared behind a tree like that. Plus, I don't think they really stalk their prey exactly like that. So I thought it was a very interesting story. Now here is a list of the common theories of what the beast could be or what people believe the beast could be. The first that some scientists really believe it is just a bear with mange. It's a very popular theory. I can kind of see how they would get that theory because, I mean, if you look at the picture, if you're watching on YouTube, they look kind of freaky, you know? The way these people describe this beast when they see it, and it's all the same. I don't think it's a bear with mange, but that's just my opinion. Now here are the rest. Dogs that can walk on hind legs, which is possible, but that would be a very big dog. A skinwalker, a werewolf, a Bigfoot, a cryptoid canine such as a bluff monster or the Eddie, or simply a hoax. But the theory that I find the most interesting is that some believe that it is some kind of spirit. Now I hope I didn't lose you on that, because I do find this theory very interesting and I wanted to really dive into that with you guys. Now, in the documentary, The Beast of Bray Road, there is a decent sized portion of them talking about how it is very possible that it could be a spirit or a demon of some kind. So I thought we could talk about it for a little bit and I want to get your guys' opinion on it. So the number of sightings that were in the late 1980s and the early 1990s would prompt a local newspaper called the Walworth County Week to assign reporter Linda Godfrey to cover the story. Now initially Linda was very skeptical, but soon she would be convinced of its authenticity and would later write a book that would be titled The Beast of Bray Road, Tailing Wisconsin's Werewolf. Now, one thing that I also found interesting is that in the documentary, they said they believed that the creature could go all the way back to the first settlers in Wisconsin, who described canine creatures who would attack and then vanish without a trace. So there's that. And Linda would often speak to the local animal control man. And this man was the one who would get all the reports from people who had claimed to see this beast, obviously because it's some sort of animal, right? Now, he did believe it was real, or he at least believed that people were seeing something that they couldn't exactly explain. Now, one day she went into his office to speak with him, and they started talking about the beast, and he had a bookshelf behind him. Now, they both claimed that the books just started flying off the shelves. So that was very eerie. After that, they decided it was time to stop talking about it because they just got this really creepy feeling, and they're just like, yeah, let's kind of pause this conversation for now. I don't blame them. Now, Linda would go on to talk about a call she'd received about the beast. And here's what she said. In Jefferson County, a newspaper editor called Linda and said that his dad saw this beast in 1936. His father was a night watchman for St. Colette Institute, which was a Catholic institution for taking care of people with special needs. They had preserved on the grounds a number of ancient burial mounds, and Mark Shackleman was the name of the man's father, and his job every night was to walk the whole grounds with his big flashlight. On this one night, he walked up on an area where there were several mounds and saw something large on top of one of those mounds. When he went and looked more closely, he saw that it was something that reminded him of a canine head, but was a really large creature, and it was digging furiously in the top of the mound as if it was trying to get something out that it knew was there. Now, he was shocked, and the creature was startled and ran off. But the next night he went back, and the creature was there again. It stood up, faced him. It made what sounded like a sort of proto-human language to the man. It sounded like the utterance of the word Gadara, which if you go to the New Testament in the Christian Bible, you'll find there was a man who was filled with demons, and he was called the Gadarian because it was in the region of Gadara, and that was where Jesus cast the demons out of this man. And then they found out later that one of the priests to the Catholic Church that was kind of attached to St. Colette organization had a very bad problem after he exorcised a demon from a young person who lived in that parish, and then the demon attached itself to him. So you have this whole possession thing going on, and then you get this unknown creature standing up on an old burial mound uttering a word that could have been the biblical word Gadara. So that's very strange. So could this beast really be of a satanic origin? Possible. And what I did find out was that there are cults in this area of Walworth County, as well as animal mutilations and conjuring of entities. I believe this could be an entity that was conjured by some cult, whether recently or way back in the day. It's very possible. Now, there were supposedly a lot of satanic info that was being reported the same time the beast was being seen. Now, it's rumored that people from around the world were coming to Wisconsin and going into the woods and performing rituals. Now, when Linda asked the Native Americans that live in that area what they believed the beast was, they went to say that they believe that the beast is not a natural, normal animal, and that it's a very old creature that came here from the spirit world. So I find that very interesting. Now, Linda and some others believe that the sightings are still occurring, but that people are really scared to come forward because they don't want to be ridiculed. I guess whenever all the reports were coming out first time, those people were being made fun of. I mean, werewolves aren't real, right? Now, there was a very interesting story that a farmer told in the documentary. A farmer was noticing that animals were being mutilated on his property. He set up some cameras and decided he was going to try to catch the beast. So he found a small 60-pound deer that was roadkill, and he laid it down in front of one of his cameras. He saw a few days later that the deer was gone. So he goes to check on his camera and was able to see frame by frame a strange mist. And it appeared over the dead deer's body, and then the mist disappears and the deer's body is gone. He goes out to look at the ground where the body was, and he sees these footprints that looked like belonged to the canine, but was only the back paw prints they saw. Now, he made casts of the prints and took them to experts, and they told him they weren't tracks of a regular animal. Like, there was no way. They also told him that they thought those footprints could have been a hoax, but he didn't see anybody on his camera other than that mist, and the camera didn't seem to have malfunctioned. So whose footprints were they, or what? How crazy is that? Honestly, I would not want to run into this beast any time, day or night. I think it's very possible that it could be some kind of spirit. And I really think this because there is no solid proof anywhere, such as dead corpse of the beast. No one has really caught it on camera that I know of. I could be wrong. And same with Bigfoot. Now, this is gonna be a very unpopular opinion for some people, I believe, but I think Bigfoot could very well be a spirit of some kind. I know it's been supposedly caught on camera, but when people experience these odd creatures that we have no scientific proof of, it's hard to believe that they are real creatures that live out in the wilderness. Let me point this out. I am in no way saying it is not possible that there is a species out there that we don't know about that is living in these dense forests. I could probably make a whole other video on Bigfoot. We could dive into that. I haven't really dove into Bigfoot. My husband and I have watched some shows of people, you know, trying to find a Bigfoot and stuff, and it's fun. They're fun to look into, right? Because you never know. It's just fun to see these things that are a huge mystery. Like, what could it be, you know? And I wouldn't mind diving into that if that's something you guys would like to talk about. We could dive into all the different theories. Just let me know if that's something you're interested in. But honestly, whether you believe it's an unidentified or mutated animal, some sort of spirit, we will never know until it's actually caught. So there's that. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments if you guys are watching on YouTube, or if you are on my podcast, go to my Instagram and send me a message and let me know what you guys think about it. But that's it for me today, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. And don't forget to check out my podcast, Spooky History with Shayna Blake. But if you do enjoy my videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell, because I upload every Wednesday at 10 a.m. And I hope you guys have a very blessed day, and I will see you all next week. Bye.